large veneer pressings in my vacuum clamp press, I like to tape the veneer down I've made the mold out of some fiberglass pink hard styrene. I've got lots to cut off on the top and the bottom here, so I'm not too worried about too much on it. But I only got a inch or two on the side. So the reason I'm doing this is it kind of helps not have the veneer buckle. And the other reason is I don't have to now rush to glue all the layers together all at one time. And therefore, the longer I take to get the first layer to glue down to the veneer, the more chance I have of it not actually clamping down properly. Maybe it gets a wrinkle in it. So the next issue is, if I don't tape it down, when I release the press, it's going to want to lift up and go all over the place, versus the tape is going to help it stay down. Now, I have in the past glued all the layers at one time, but it's always a panic. And I've got a couple of other headboards that I do that have 7, 8 layers, and it's just too much. Little rubber band there keeps that little trigger in place, so now I can just roll out what I think is the right amount of glue rather than constantly feeding more onto it. So my preferable thickness of veneer, after doing this for 30 plus years, is to buy 1 millimeter thick veneer. Not the ½ millimeter thick, which is really thin, and only the really big boys with the big toys use the thin stuff, because it's all a matter of price per square foot on the veneer. So, you can see that I've let this go for a couple of 3 hours and it's not lifting off. It's doing good. It's a little bit over there maybe. So now I'm going to lay my 2 other pieces on. Final veneer coating. You don't want to put it on too thin, yet you don't want it on too thick. If you're using the really thin 1/2 millimeter thick veneer, this is even more critical that you would have bleed through. The 0.9 or 1 millimeter thick veneer has a little less tendency to have bleed through. The 16th has almost none, but I find the 16th inch veneer it's too much more difficult to cut, and it is also, looks to me like half the times has some kind of drying problem when they're processing it. It just has a more of an open porous grain look to it. See, as I've done each layer, I'm not really too concerned about trying to get it all down in one shot. I'd be panic rolling everywhere rather than concentrating just on my veneer layers like I'm doing right now. the seams just move open a little bit there. I got some backup veneer tape. I'm just going to make sure it doesn't pull apart, but it should be good. See a little bit of a break. Handling the veneer sometimes is going to run into these little problems. Okay, so it's in position. So we need to use a caul because the plastic bag sometimes will leave a little wrinkle. It won't quite press it perfectly flat. I'm just going to help this one out a little bit. Never hurts. This is the most important face. The back, well, you can have a little flaw in it. The back of the bed, it's going up against the wall typically, but the front, you've got no room for error. So life has evolved. When I was originally using wax paper as kind of like a vapor barrier to prevent the glue from sticking to the caul, then we moved to this thick plastic, but it costs too much money and it kinks if it doesn't fit the exact press shape, to now that we just basically use a 1/8 MDF or the same material that we're making the material out of. As long as we don't have any bleed through, I haven't had anything stick to the finished veneer. That is absolutely stunningly perfect and beautiful. Now I just got to cut the tape and remove her. There you go. That's the front, just perfectly smooth. Queen size bed curved panel. Done in stages.